Imagine standing in a courtroom, prepared to defend your actions before a jury of your peers. But instead of a human judge weighing the nuances of your life, your fate is being processed by an algorithm. This isn't science fiction. It is the current reality of the modern justice system. Across the United States and the globe, risk assessment tools are being used to determine bail, sentencing, and parole. These systems promise objectivity and efficiency, aiming to remove human prejudice from the equation. However, as we peel back the layers of code, a disturbing question emerges. Is the technology we built to ensure fairness actually reinforcing the very biases it was meant to eliminate? Today, we explore how AI is judging you and why the digital gavel might be rigged.
The most famous of these tools is Compass, the Correctional Offender Management Profiling for Alternative Sanctions. It uses a proprietary algorithm to generate a risk score between 1 and 10, predicting how likely a defendant is to reoffend. This score is then handed to judges to help them decide who goes home on bail and who stays behind bars. The creators of Compass argue that by using data points like education level, employment status, and family history, the system provides a neutral assessment. But critics argue that these data points are often proxies for race and socioeconomic status. If the input data is tainted by decades of biased policing, the output will inevitably reflect those same prejudices, hidden behind a mask of mathematical certainty.
In 2016, a landmark investigation by ProPublica sent shockwaves through the legal community. They analyzed the risk scores of over 7,000 people arrested in Broward County, Florida, and found a startling disparity. The algorithm was remarkably unreliable in its predictions, but its mistakes were not random. Black defendants were nearly twice as likely to be misclassified as high risk compared to white defendants who did not reoffend. Conversely, white defendants were twice as likely as black defendants to be mislabeled as low risk, despite actually committing future crimes. This study provided the first hard evidence that colorblind algorithms could produce outcomes that were anything but equal, sparking a global debate on algorithmic accountability.
The fundamental problem lies in the data. AI models are trained on historical records, and in the justice system, history is fraught with inequality. If certain neighborhoods have been over-policed for decades, the data fed into the AI will show higher arrest rates for residents of those areas. The algorithm doesn't see systemic bias, it only sees patterns. It then predicts that people from those same neighborhoods are high risk. This creates a feedback loop. Biased data leads to biased predictions, which lead to harsher sentences, which create more biased data for the next generation of AI. We aren't teaching the machines to be fair, we are teaching them to automate our own historical failures. One of the most controversial aspects of AI in justice is the black box nature of proprietary software. Companies like Northpoint, which created Compass, claim their algorithms are trade secrets. This means that neither the defendant nor their lawyers can examine how the risk score was calculated. They can't cross-examine the code. This raises a massive constitutional concern regarding the right to due process. If you are denied bail because of a score, shouldn't you have the right to know how that score was reached? When justice is outsourced to private corporations, transparency often takes a backseat to profit margins and intellectual property rights, leaving the accused in a digital shadow. The reach of AI extends beyond the initial arrest. In many states, these scores are presented to judges during sentencing. A high-risk score could mean the difference between probation and years in prison. In the case of Loomis v. Wisconsin, the state Supreme Court ruled that judges could use Compass scores as long as they weren't the only factor. But studies show that judges often defer to the objective machine, a phenomenon known as automation bias. Furthermore, parole boards use these tools to decide if an inmate is safe to release. If the algorithm is biased, an individual could be kept behind bars longer, not because of what they did, but because of what a machine predicts they might do. The US is not alone in this digital shift. In the United Kingdom, police forces use HART, the Harm Assessment Risk Tool, to categorize suspects. In China, smart courts use AI to suggest sentences and even predict litigation outcomes to ensure consistency. Perhaps most radically, Estonia has explored the concept of robot judges for small claims disputes under €7,000 to clear judicial backlogs.
While these systems vary in their complexity and application, they all share a common goal: using technology to streamline the messy, expensive process of human justice. But as the technology goes global, so do the risks of standardizing bias on a massive scale.
Can AI ever be truly objective? Proponents argue that humans are naturally biased. We get tired, hungry, and stressed, which affects our judgment. Some studies even suggest judges are more lenient after a lunch break. In theory, a perfectly tuned AI could be fairer than any human. But the human element includes things like empathy, mercy, and understanding context, qualities that code cannot yet replicate. A machine can't understand why a person stole bread to feed their family. It only sees a theft. The challenge we face is finding a balance, using technology as a tool for support while ensuring that final, life-altering decisions remain in human hands.
The tide is beginning to turn. Lawmakers are starting to demand transparency and accountability. In the US, the proposed Algorithmic Accountability Act would require companies to audit their AI for bias. The European Union's AI Act is even stricter, categorizing AI used in the legal system as high risk and subject to rigorous oversight. Some cities, like San Francisco, have banned the use of facial recognition by police entirely. Reformers are calling for open-source justice, where any algorithm used by the state must be available for public inspection. The goal is to move from a system of black box secrets to one of glass box transparency.
As we move further into the 21st century, the line between software and society will continue to blur. AI has the potential to make our systems faster and more efficient, but if we aren't careful, it will only succeed in making injustice more efficient too. Civic engagement and legislative oversight are the only ways to ensure that the digital gavel serves the people rather than the algorithms. We must ask ourselves, do we want a justice system that predicts our future based on our past, or one that allows for human growth and redemption? The choice is ours, but the clock and the code is ticking. Stay informed, stay active, and demand transparency in the digital age.